Okay.
So you have, on that note, you have the cecum, you have the ascending colon. This is the hepatic flexure because it's under the liver. This is the transverse colon. This is the splenic flexure. It's under the spleen. This is the descending colon. Now you get into the sigmoid flexure because it looks like an S. So they said, oh, it looks like the Greek letter sigma, so it's a sigmoid colon. Going back to my point, how everything in anatomy, if you studied Italian, you would realize that this is all just idiotic, childish names for everything. But because it's in a different language, we think it sounds professional and intelligent.
It does sound professional and hard to understand.
So after the sigmoid flexure, it drops into the rectum. And that's the anus.
Where beer bongs do not go.
Where beer bongs should not go. Alright, now on it you have all these pouches on the sides of it. Those are called haustra.
Haustra?
Haustra.
Oh, haustra.
H-A-U-S-T-R-A. Haustra. Which literally means house, because they're little chambers. Again, childish names. And you have the tendon in the middle, which I can't remember the name of right now.
Okay.
Finally, something you forgot.
It happens. The haustra are also called diverticuli.
Oh yeah.
That you may not need to know
Diverticulitis.
for your
Micro.
test, but you'll need to know that in more larger medical fields and everything. In fact, I was talking to my EMT instructor, and he was talking about diverticulitis for the first time. I never heard of it before, so I raised my hand and said, "Why isn't it called haustritis?" And his answer is, "What's a haustra?" But yeah, those are haustra, which are a type of diverticulum. A diverticulum is just any outcropping of an organ.
Okay.
Is diverticulitis generally just an enlargement of the colon?
Yeah, it's generally just an inflammation of the haustra. But it's called diverticulitis because they are diverticulum. Let's see if we can get the vagina in the right way.
Oh boy.
The problems we encounter. So,
Will you go through the veins and arteries while everything's out?
absolutely.
Thank you.
So how do you tell the difference between the jejunum and the ileum on this thing?
Ileum is lower?
I don't know either.
Okay, good.
They can't test you on it.
Not really, they can't.
They can't test you on it.
The jejunum is in this area, and the ileum is this area. That's as close as we can get. Probably not going to be a test question, so don't worry about that and don't struggle with this thing. Just kind of know the general area.
What's the cutout there for?
So you can look inside.
Oh,
Isn't it pretty?
pretty.
So we have our houses and we have our windows.
Okay.
All right. So, looking at this model shaped thing is the pancreas, which is a little counterintuitive because we are always familiar growing up seeing it as like a bump over here and a long bar. And it's not, it's like a splat of ooze. It's kind of how it's shaped. So this is the pancreas. You've already covered your islets of Langerhans and your ducts. And this is your duodenum. This entire area here is the duodenum. What makes the duodenum different than the rest of the intestines?
Yeah, it is actually dangerous.
Acid.
People that say that they do it
Your stomach pours chyme into the duodenum, and chyme is mixed with hydrochloric acid. So you have a very high pH chyme. Your duodenum has a thicker mucus lining to protect against that extra pH, because this is where it gets the sodium bicarbonate from the pancreas to neutralize the acid. So once it leaves this point, these guys don't have that acid protection.
It's like a buffer.
Yeah, it is. It's a buffer. So it has as much acid protection, or at least almost as much, as the stomach does.
Okay.
And this doesn't really have any acid protection. So, other than that, there's the liver. And when I took my exam, I called this the omega jalapeno.
It does look like an omega jalapeno.
It does, doesn't it?
What is
I don't
that?
suggest
I
you
would say,
do
but for the rest of us, what is it? Is it gallbladder?
This is the gallbladder. So that's the gallbladder, and you have the common bile duct down here.
The
Not
green?
here, here, because it separates into the ducts that come from the liver and from the gallbladder. They come together into the common bile duct. The common bile duct is what pours into your duodenum. Now, the liver produces bile and acts as a glycogen storage. So if you have any kind of sugar content where you're low on sugar, glucagon will come in, break apart the glycogen, put it into your bloodstream to restore it. In addition to that, it produces bile, which is stored in the gallbladder. So when you have a high fat content of food entering into your duodenum, it's going to release bile from the liver and the gallbladder. So if you have your gallbladder removed, you're still producing bile, but it comes out slower and in smaller quantities because you don't have a saved up bolus. Which means you'll get diarrhea if you have a cheeseburger with too much fat on it.
Because your body can't break it down.
Yeah, but you'll live. Won't hurt you so much.
So you won't absorb all those calories then either. So then you won't absorb all the calories either, because that's good. No such luck. You still absorb the calories. Not as not as many.
Okay, so looking at this guy.
Bare bones looking.
These are your right and left gonadal arteries. They come off way high and drop down to your gonads. And the reason for that is because when developing the human body, we have no idea where your gonads are going yet. Sexual differentiation has not occurred.
Oh, okay.
That doesn't occur until the last 8 weeks of development, right? The what? The
No, it
sexual
has.
orientation or sexual
Sexual
No.
differentiation is
Has to be much earlier because at 20 weeks you can have an ultrasound and you can
and you
tell if
can
it's a boy or
see
girl.
Oh, obviously I've
sexual,
never had kids, sorry.
sexual differentiation
weeks you work into.
begins at 6 to 8 weeks.
Yeah.
That's where sexual differentiation begins. You can really tell at around 20 weeks.
People sometimes don't even know they're pregnant.
And they're still not 100%. They'll do
And
an
not to brag-
ultrasound, it's like, if you see a penis, it's a boy.
Yeah, not
If
to
you
brag or
can't
anything, but
find
my
a
son, you
penis,
could tell
it
really
might
early.
be a girl.
That's why I'm proud mom.
So on the arteries off of this guy, you have your celiac trunk, which has these three things sticking off of it. You have your superior mesenteric, you have your inferior mesenteric, and you have your gonadal arteries. Everyone got that? So here's your celiac trunk. Now, what are the three that come off the celiac trunk? Who knows?
The gastric, the hepatic, and the splenic.
Hepatic, splenic, and gastric, I think. I know that's the hepatic. I believe that's the
Hepatic,
splenic.
gastric, splenic.
So your splenic is going to come off to your spleen, which is here. Close enough.
Shove that guy in there.
So there's the spleen, sitting over a kidney that's not shown. Is the kidney part of any of this?
I'm sure, unless we leave, like...
We're missing a kidney. Okay,
I hear
So
you
this
can live
guy
with only
is-
one.
you can.
After we do respiratory.
This guy might be on dialysis. So
What's that guy?
this is the spleen.
What's this guy?
That's a kidney, but the
Not
other
sure
one
the other
is
one is.
disappeared into the
Donated.
ether, I guess.
Donated a kidney. That's what I
Or
did.
eaten by a wild animal. I like that one.
Stolen in its sleep.
Stolen in his sleep. Candy Mountain. Alright. But it should be right here because that's his suprarenal gland. Or adrenaline gland. So here you have your splenic, which will come off and go into that guy. And that'll go through a splenic portal. This is the common hepatic, which goes off, and I think it branches a couple more times before it actually goes into the liver through the hepatic portal. And then there's your gastric, which feeds your stomach with blood vessels that run along the top and run along the bottom, which I don't think you have to know those.
We have to know the one across the top and the bottom of the stomach. Just those two.
Okay, there's the epiploic and, yeah. Alright, so there's the superior mesenteric, which separates out into your right, middle, and ilio.